Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Holiday Prep, PPC and SEO. I'm Anna Sawyer, and I will be moderating today, and we are very happy to have you here today. So I just want to go over a couple of logistics before we start. First of all, this conference is being recorded, and we will absolutely be sending out the video recording and the slides and a link to our best practice brief after the webinar. So look for that stuff in your inbox a little bit later today. If you are on the Twitters, we would very much like to encourage you to tweet SEM Holiday Prep. We will randomly choose one of the people who tweets SEM Holiday Prep and give them a sweet Amazon.com gift card for $25, with which you can buy many, many, many tiny holiday gifts, or one medium-sized holiday gift, or, well, you know what you can buy.
Something nice for yourself.
Yeah, so I will introduce the person who's talking in the room right now in just a moment. So just so you know, this is actually the first of a 4-part holiday prep webinar series for 2011. Now, if you think that seems like a lot, think about how important the holidays are to your revenue. So we will be covering a lot of really awesome topics with a lot of really, really awesome guests. And if you would like to be automatically signed up for our 4-part webinar series, it doesn't mean you actually have to come, it just means you'll get a confirmation. Please go ahead and enter into the chat, sign me up. If you see someone in the chat named Danny Randa, that is our awesome Trada marketing intern, and he will answer any questions that you may have. So now I would love to introduce today's awesome guests. First of all, we have Jason Kreidman, who's the VP of Business Development at Bestrank. Hello, Jason.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for being with us today. Jason is really awesome. I've actually done a webinar with him in the past. He is an SEO and PPC expert. One of my favorite things about him is that he loves to have a great conversation. And another person who has all of those attributes is Matt Hessler, who's in the room with me today. Matt Hessler, Director of Account Management from Trada.
Hey, Anna.
Hello. So let's jump right into it. Now, everyone, if you have questions, please go ahead and type them right into the chat box, and we will get to them at the end. So, first of all, today we're going to talk about PPC and SEO, how you can use them together and separately to prepare for your holiday campaign. So we're going to talk really quickly about the difference between SEO and PPC, just so we're all on the same page. So if you are looking at a search results page, if you type in giant lasers because you are an evil mastermind and you're trying to trick out your lair, the results you see on the left-hand side of the page are SEO results. So what this means is that the companies that show up here have worked hard to optimize their pages for search engine optimization to make things incredibly relevant. They've created meta content and keyword stuffing on their pages. I'm sure that Jason can do a better job of explaining this than I can. Jason, what's your incredibly quick way of describing what the SEO results are?
Organic are things that you're doing to your website, both on the website and then off into the internet, whether that's through social and link building and article writing, versus pay-per-click is simply sponsored ads that you're willing to pay on a per-click basis. So both are valuable, both are intermingled. We work together to make sure that one can enhance the other, and that's why we're talking about both. There's not really a focus on one of them. You have to do everything in order to really succeed. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way to put it. The things on the left are content you've created, and by the way, when you boil right down to it, it's actually free. The stuff on the right is paid, so you've paid for those, although there's a great deal of work and optimization that goes into those. So sometimes PPC and SEO can butt heads a little bit, but we always like to say that PPC and SEO need each other. So, Matt, can you weigh in?
Absolutely, and that it's kind of funny when people talk about PPC and SEO butting heads. I think that's kind of leftover thoughts from the early days of search when a lot of vendors were vying to kind of compete for people's marketing dollars, and they'd make arguments why you should do PPC or just SEO and how those results are going to affect your business. The whole industry's matured. It's moved towards, strategies that obviously incorporate both. Both are important for lots of reasons, and I think we're going to go over most of those reasons today. But they can both give you valuable data and feedback on the campaigns you're running. PPC, as Google's matured, they have a quality score component to their PPC algorithm, and your quality score will be increased by good SEO best practices. And then PPC is also a great way to measure some of your conversion focus. So there's lots of ways these two kind of interplay with one another, and I think we're all on the same page that they're both important.
And Jason, I think I remember you telling me in one of your earlier conversations that in your agency, you may have separate PPC and SEO teams, but you always encourage them to work together.
They do. In fact, sort of on the monthly basis, we sit down internally, and the SEO team and the PPC people will look at kind of the trends of what's happening and really get valuable information from each other, because you might see different data. The pay-per-click team is going to see different data, different conversions, which can then be used in both campaigns. So it really is valuable to kind of work together to make sure that you can sort of benefit both in the most you can. So. Right,
Great.
And hold hands. That's exactly.
Exactly. Let's work together. Let's get those rock'em sock'em robots into a room together and have them have a talk. So let's talk about how this applies to your holiday paid search campaigns and what you can do right now. So I know that it is August, and the leaves aren't even falling off the trees yet, but getting a head start on your PPC campaign can really give you a competitive edge, because pretty soon you're going to see this. I just wanted to write the word and other companies are preparing right now, so let's talk about what you can do to prepare. So we have a relatively structured set of slides here, but I'd really like to encourage Matt and Jason to kind of have a conversation right over them. So first, let's talk about sort of as you're preparing for your campaign, things that you can do for competitive research.
So I think this is a pretty important place to start with either PPC or organic. For me, it's a lot about setting up not only your campaigns for success, but your business. You need to look at, how do you stack up against your competitors that are selling the exact same or similar products. You want to start to do some price comparison. You're going to want to monitor these prices throughout the holiday period. If people are dropping their prices, are you going to be price competitive? And if you are or aren't, that makes a big difference in the ad language you might use. If you're not super price competitive, but you have a higher quality of service, or you have special offers like free shipping or rush shipping to get things there in time for the holidays, knowing what differentiates you from your competitors just from a holistic business standpoint is super important. You can, from there, look at what some of your competitors are doing in the PPC marketplace using tools like SpyFu. None of the tools are going to give you the exact insight, but it may give you a general yardstick. How much are some of your competitors spending on search on a daily or monthly basis? How many keywords are they going after? Are they pursuing a strategy for PPC that's really deep, kind of long tail? They're covering SKUs and product names, and you're focused more on some kind of thematic concepts. So that's, I think, doing the research up front will help both your SEO and PPC efforts.
And Jason, I think you mentioned that you guys use SpyFu as just a tool just to really sort of kick off competitive research. What do you actually look for?
Well, I do. We do use SpyFu. I mean, in a PPC campaign, it's great. You can look at sort of what your competitors are bidding on. All the things that he mentioned. I think from an SEO standpoint too, because we were talking about PPC, from SEO, you really got to look at the competitive landscape and saying, okay, how many backlinks do these people have? What are they doing in their social media campaigns? Are they writing articles and disseminating information through blogs? What are my competitors doing that I need to get, that I need to be doing so I can compete with them effectively? But yeah, we use SpyFu for a lot of the pay-per-click, and it can give us some keyword research in an SEO environment as well. I like to use it for keyword research. It's a really good tool.
Jason, do you guys ever change your strategies? Like if you see folks that are dominating the first page results and have really strong SEO fundamentals for certain terms, will you start to change your focus towards different terms, or do you just pursue a competitive strategy that goes at those folks that currently own those results?
I think it depends on the budget and the goals. When you're, whether you're locally focused, if you're in a dominant market or in a competitive market, and you've got some big dominant players, you're going to really have to find some niches. When you're competing against large, e-commerce organizations. And if you're a smaller company, you're really going to have to find those niches. And that's, the holiday time is an interesting, and we can talk about some of the ways that, we can add holiday-related terms and things. But yeah, I think it's just, you've got to be strong. You've got to find your specific area that you can focus in on and not worry so much about the competition. I think, we're talking about competitive research, which is important, but you also, too, don't want to focus so much of your efforts on the competition. I had a call the other day, and a gentleman was talking, my competitor's doing this, my competitor's doing that. And ultimately, the amount of energy that was going into worrying about his competitors, he could have been, out doing something for himself. And so I think that there is sort of a balance that you've got to take so that you're not so focused on what your competitors are doing.
I think that's really good advice. Don't be ignorant of them, but at the same time, don't become obsessed with them. And I think it is true that sort of depending on your budget or where you are in the life of your company, it may be worth it to take a step back and say we can't rank for these terms. Yeah,
I like the David versus Goliath kind of theme where you have to choose, you have to be smart if you've got limited resources and you're going up against some of these Goliath-sized competitors, put those resources in the right place and you can still be really effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's another really cool tool that, Matt asked me to put into this presentation because it allows you to do some real planning for your holiday campaign.
And this is a pretty, you got to look at it from a very macro perspective, but Google's nice enough to provide their Google Trends tool that you can go back and look at some of the historics. For me, on the pay-per-click side of things, this is used really to start to plan out start dates and budgets and look at when some of these maybe holiday terms and themes really start to peak in terms of their usage so that if I do have limited resources, I can make sure they're allocated to the times when the searches really start to see an uptick. So I use Google Trends to kind of forecast, okay, where do I need to be budget-wise for and really you're working on a almost week-to-week basis when you get into the holiday primetime period.
And you'll see here another thing. So what we've done here is we've actually just typed the word chocolate into Google Trends. This is something that Jason mentioned would probably be a very holiday, a product that's affected by the holidays. This will allow you to sort of decide where you're going to spend your budget and be realistic about how much you're going to spend. So a lot of the themes that you'll see today is sort of like pick your battles and then go after them. So this is a pretty cool tool. I think we did cover, just a little bit doing some old-fashioned market research, but I think this is really important because this is, a step that will allow you to determine what your message is. Are you price competitive? If not, what do you have to offer?
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and just talk about now really getting forward towards planning your holiday strategy. So the way we've kind of set this up is doing some sort of picking your battle, working on PPC a little bit to sort of set you up to work on SEO. So Matt, if you could talk a little bit about how you should determine your target product categories.
So I think this is kind of a combination of internal review and competitive landscape review. Again, if you're a smaller company working on a limited budget, you need to focus on the products or services that you offer that generate the best return on investment for your company. You have to also think about, are these products that you're able to sell on the web? We've worked with some advertisers who have some really high dollar items, which is great if you can sell them, but some of those higher dollar items don't move as well through e-commerce. People may be going to a brick and mortar, they may be doing more research, it's a high consideration purchase. So just because it's the sale of that item may bring them in the most money, it may not be the best place to start. Look at some of your historic data for your best sellers and make sure those are the things that are profitable for your business. Then kind of compare that with the competitive landscape to say, how much competition is there around these products? Can I find some niche products within that?
And Jason, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I was going to ask the Trada guys, have you guys had any information about sort of the dollar amounts which make sense best to kind of, to be advertising on PPC? Because, I've obviously with customers, I've seen where we come in the $100 to a couple $100 range seems to perform better, whereas you have a product that's $20 or $25, you can be spending a tremendous amount of clicks with very little return. Have you guys analyzed any of that data? Have you ever had any information about that?
So there is kind of a standard distribution there where, there's a lot of search volume, but if you, like you said, if you put in your efforts towards the low end, it's hard to get that return on something that only costs $25. Your margin on that may be pretty low, and you have to be hypersensitive to your search efforts to keep a positive ROI. When you get into the $75 to about $250 range, seems to be about a sweet spot. You start going over $250, especially when you get into the $500 and up, you end up with longer lead times between the original click and the conversion. Is this a husband and wife that have to confer on this purchase because it's a higher dollar value? Is it something that you just are going to shop around more to get the best deal because it's a higher value? Or maybe it's ultimately that somebody's going to go just do the research online and go to a brick and mortar because they need to see, touch, feel, smell this thing before they commit, bigger dollars. So we find,
Sure.
Kind of 75 to $250, $300 seems to be kind of a sweet spot.
Okay. All right.
So I'm just going to kind of zoom through a little bit of this optimization stuff here. So this is something that we talk about all the time here at Trada. The foundation of PPC is your ad group architecture. So when you're preparing for your holiday campaign, this is, you know that this onslaught of shoppers is coming. This is the time that you need to fix your ad groups. So I don't know, Matt, if you can concisely explain not only the importance but also the strategy for fixing your stuff.
Yeah, and I can barely do a better job than Anna on this. She's become kind of a subject matter expert on ad group architecture, but basically best practices apply. You want to keep these ad groups nice and tight. Think 5 to 15 keywords per ad group. Keep them super relevant so you can write ad copy that's very specific to those keywords. You're going to see your quality score increase. You're going to see the click-through rate increase. You're going to see hopefully your conversion rate increase because the pages that you're landing people on really resonate with the users. So think small ad groups, tightly focused, and then be really aggressive or specific on the pricing for the keywords. If because you've got a nice, tight, small ad group, that this is a higher dollar product, maybe you can afford to pay a little bit more on the cost per click side. You'll have other ad groups that focus on lower dollar products. You need to be attentive to the cost to make sure you're maintaining positive ROI.
And this is another thing where what we're talking about here is quality score. I mean, what you want to do at this point is make sure that you're able to have a good enough quality score to be competitive during the holidays. So I could go on forever about that. So this is when we start moving into gathering information for SEO. So Jason, I mean, we talked a little bit about this before, how important it is to, when you are, to integrate PPC data into your SEO decisions. So
Sure.
Ad copy in PPC is an excellent way to basically just A/B test your messages.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to want to test multiple ads. Another thing here that is really important is, even if you have a successful ad that you've done multiple testing, now that it's coming towards the holidays, be prepared to use some holiday terms. And that's really important, that people are specifically searching for dad's gift, mom's gift, whatever that might be, and make sure that you're tailoring those ads specific for the holidays instead of just, oh, hey, these chocolates, and whatever your chocolate ad is, and it's been working for you, and you're getting a 5% click-through, great. But see if you can get that 5.5% to 6%, and even, improving it even further by adding.
Yeah, I mean, just keeping in mind that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good.
Just keeping in mind that, yes, people have the holidays on the brain, and that they're also thinking about saving money right now. So that's definitely something to be thinking about. So now that you have tested your ad copy for these messages, now is the time to start incorporating these messages into your landing pages. So Jason, can you talk about a couple ways that you can take these messages and put them into your landing pages? So calls to action, you talked about maybe putting some stuff in the footer.
Yeah, I mean, when you have these messages that you've done your ad copy, and your ad copy you figured out what's working better, whether it's simple words from click here to buy now to, and you're able to sort of test those. When you see the successes of certain messages working, or even the features and benefits of your offering, make sure that you're using those in the landing pages. Those can be bullet points. They can be in the descriptions of products or categories. You really want to incorporate, and that's where the SEO team is often involved in landing pages too, because we want to make sure it's targeted towards the users. So the PPC, you get those messages and you really get a chance to test what's working really well.
Yeah, so this is landing page optimization is something that benefits both PPC and SEO very, very greatly. And in fact, the landing pages are something that we often sort of forget about when it comes to PPC, but they're so important to PPC success, where at the same time having a PPC, having a landing page that is SEO optimized, which, by the way, someone in the chat just made fun of me for saying because it is redundant, but I don't know if I could stop. Having these pages that are optimized for both SEO and PPC is incredibly beneficial.
Yeah, and honestly, on both sides of the house, PPC and SEO, we need, this is prime time for your business. You need to be thinking about conversion rates. We're used to, during the year, thinking about ranking and traffic and lots of other factors. When you get into Q4 and you're looking at holiday, it's all about driving those conversions. So good SEO landing pages, but also everything you can do to get people into your shopping cart process and purchasing.
Yeah, awesome.
If you run an e-commerce PPC campaign and you have your products and your categories bidding and you are landing them on the home page, don't do it anymore.
That's a fail.
The home page, the home page should not be part of your campaign unless it is such a generic word there's nowhere else to land them. You've got to land the user on a specific category page, even the specific product page, or even a search landing page, which is a great way as well if your software system can do it, where when they're looking, if you don't have that specific product but it's a group of products, you may not have that category, land them on a search results page of that specific term. So.
Yeah, the sort of analogy that we always make is, someone wants to buy a product, so you send them into your store, and then you send them to the middle of your store where they have no idea where to find your product, and there are signs everywhere. You should send them to the section where your product is. Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about how, you did all this stuff in PPC to figure out, which messages resonate, and very, very specifically which messages convert. So here at Trada we do PPC, and we are not rock'em sock'em robots. We are friends with SEO. But sometimes one of the things that is concerning about SEO is that it doesn't always seem to be conversion focused, and also it's not as easily measurable. So you should remember that during the holidays the only thing you care about is sales, right? That's pretty much it. So we can take this information that we got from PPC and we can apply it to SEO. So we talked a little bit about the tested ad language. Matt looks like he wants to say something.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think this is a place, if you are lucky enough to work in an organization that has PPC and SEO teams, and this isn't to be disparaging towards the SEO crowd, but most of the time they're focused on ranking and lots of variables that go into that. But achieving a good ranking for a term is only one step towards that conversion process. So again, when we're talking about using PPC to hopefully influence the SEO efforts, we're talking about these small ad groups, writing 3 or 4 ads, using different calls to action, different value propositions in terms of shipping alternatives. Do I use a price? Don't I? Use all that to measure what's effective language to drive the conversions, and then incorporate that in all the hard work you're doing for that SEO. So I just wanted to, it's something that maybe traditional SEO people don't think about, or think about as kind of the last step of the process, and you want to have that conversion conversation fresh in your mind at all steps when you're talking about the holidays.
Yeah, certainly a famous SEO line is, we provide traffic, not sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, that's really the case. But ultimately, you're getting judged as an SEO based on the sales increases that you're going to be able to bring. So if you're not involved, you should be. And so, as a decision maker and as an e-commerce store, you want that SEO team to be increasing your sales. And so you've got to work with them, work together to be able to do that.
Yeah, this is the whole point. So another thing that you can do to SEO optimize, I can't stop saying that, to optimize your landing pages for SEO is to update your description tags. So this is something, where you're looking at the organic search results and you can see exactly what you're looking for. Do you have any examples, Matt?
Yeah, and Jason may have better examples than I, but the idea here is you're getting an opportunity from Google to describe that page, and you want to even punch up some call to action in that description. So a lot of people write very SEO-friendly, keyword-rich descriptions, which are great, but lack a call to action. If you're showing up in those organic results, how can you make that description compelling to get the click and ultimately the sale?
So,
I will say that it actually does have some search equity indirectly in that your click-through rates are going to go up. Your click-through rates are going to go up, which is one metric that is used to determine ranking. I mean, it's one of tons, but it still is valuable. So while the description itself may not be increasing your rankings, that click-through rate of your listing is really important.
So just so I'm totally clear, you're suggesting here basically that you should take those description tags and instead of using a very optimized for SEO traditional description tag, you would use more like a call to action description tag like collect Barbie and all of her friends. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you sell Barbies, then that might be and even like a value.
Huge selection of chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean a keyword-rich tag can still be keyword-rich and have call to actions. I think that was Matt was saying. It's not just about the keywords because you still want to use the keywords because that's what people are searching for and that's what they're looking for. So ultimately they are looking for that in the description, but then you want to make sure that they're clicking as well. So you've got to have some call to action in that.
Great, really great advice. Something I would never have thought of. But then again, I'm not the expert. So let's move to including SKUs, model numbers, and UPCs in title tags, footers, etc. Do you mind explaining the difference between SKUs, model numbers, and UPCs before we do anything else, Jason?
Sure. Well, and also for those who are doing things like Google Base or Google Products feeds, you have to be aware that Google is changing their requirements to make sure that there are at least 2 unique identifiers being used in the feed. So this is becoming very important, for SEO. Is using, a SKU can be something that you may use internally, or it's a manufacturer SKU. A UPC code is the lines and the lines and verticals that you see. A lot of people may use them as much, but the barcode, but they're identifiers, unique identifiers. And then a model number might just be the iPod Nano 36 gig T160 or whatever that model number might be. So all of those are opportunities for optimization. If you can't fit it in the title because you're using other keywords, then there's other opportunities to use. And I think, Anna, we were talking a while back about landing pages when it's your product page to be able to include SKUs, model numbers, UPC codes, whatever you can, whatever data is relevant to that product, put it on those pages. And even if it's just in the footers or saying, hey, this model number is also known as this. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to not make it intrusive, and it's valuable information. You also can bid on it.
And it's not just for electronics anymore. I was saying that I've actually looked for a pair of jeans by, of course I didn't know what these jeans were called, but I liked them. And so I actually looked up the number on the tag, and I was able to find them online.
Yeah, I had a customer who
not just for electronics
selling
anymore.
Shampoo. The customer was selling shampoo. They were a hair salon, and they sold shampoo. And we put in SKUs both in a PPC and SEO campaign, and it gave some lift to their campaign. They had no idea that somebody would be looking for that, those codes. But people are doing that now, and that's the barcodes that your phones can now scan them, and I mean there's all kinds of advances being done with that. So it's really important to have that data in your website.
And 2 points on this, because I think this is actually a pretty important part of this whole presentation. I think this is a great, the use of SKUs, model numbers, UPCs is a great example of how to be resourceful. If you are in a David versus Goliath, you've got a small budget, this is a great way to focus on a niche that maybe a bigger competitor isn't concentrating on. Allows you to be competitive on a term. Certainly it's going to get less searches than maybe the broad term, but the people who have taken the time to know what that UPC or model number is, they're a well-researched customer, and they may be more likely to convert. So it's great in that capacity, and then this is also our search robots holding hands, because this has a great lift in terms of your PPC quality score to have that stuff on the page somewhere in the footer, things like that. So this is important stuff if you guys think your business is something that people know or could research, SKUs, model numbers, UPCs. There's a lot of ways to use that to your advantage.
Is there any reason not to bid? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, even during the holidays, it's even more important because that's price comparisons are often done that way. I mean, that's why Google Products is requiring these numbers, is because they're doing price comparisons. So the idea, and even if you don't want to compete on price, you still should have, those numbers in there. So sorry, go ahead, Anna.
Oh no, I should not be interrupting you. Is there any reason not to bid on or include SKUs, model numbers, and UPCs? Is there any reason to be careful about those, or should we just hands down absolutely do it?
I don't think there's necessarily to be careful. I mean, there are occasions where if the manufacturer of your own product and there's not necessarily, the SKUs or the item numbers are not that important because people don't know them, then it may not be as crucial. I mean, if you're a manufacturer of a chair and you're the only one who sells those chairs, there's not people looking for that SKU. But if you are a reseller, I mean, if you're a reseller of a certain, certain type of chair that, the Aeron chair that everybody wants, then of course that SKU number can be important. So I think
I think that's right. It can be low impact, but it's almost never a negative.
Okay. Good to know. So finally, we just, this is actually just sort of a basic website optimization tool, but while you're getting ready for the holidays, a heat map tool like Crazy Egg, which is a really cool, very inexpensive tool that just allows you to see where people are clicking on your page, will allow you to see not only where people are clicking, but also where people are not clicking. So it can show you which messaging isn't working, or if you have links on your page that are useless.
Yeah, and there's a lot more high-tech tools out there, but something like Crazy Egg, if people in the audience are more on the marketing side of the house or less technical, it's awesome because it's super visual. And again, this is going to look more at your conversion process. So you did all these great SEO things. You got a well-built strategic landing page you're sending customers to. What do they do when they get there? Are they clicking on your logo in the header to go back to the home page? Are they getting right into the shopping cart? Do they need more information? Having a heat map that shows where people are clicking on the page may help you reorganize that page, and if you can get an extra quarter point in that conversion rate, you will have maybe been wildly successful for your company in the holidays.
And you will have probably paid for the Crazy Egg tool because it's like $10.
Yeah,
yeah.
Almost certainly. If you get one extra sale, it probably pays the $10 that you spent on Crazy Egg.
Plus, it's just cool data. So, all right, let's summarize before we get to the questions. Bam, do your research. Get your top product style. That was your pick your battles thing. Test with PPC because it gives you all sorts of valuable information. Build out your landing pages, and then optimize for SEO, but also for conversions. Do you guys have any closing thoughts about that, or shall I move on to the questions?
Love it.
No,
all right.
Get to the questions. Yeah.
Great. So first, we're going to pimp out the rest of our webinar series. So, yep, we've talked about getting a head start on holiday marketing, and I know that you think it's crazy that we can have 3 more webinars about this, but we can. So, September 1st, Lisa Prasic actually talked with 3 e-commerce companies and talks about real problems and the problems they've faced, and they have these problems, so you don't have to. Then the Landing Page Geniuses Unbounce will talk about boosting conversions on your landing pages for the holidays. And then we'll have Matt Hessler back in the room, and he will help you strategically shotgun new strategies. And this is a lot about how to manage your team during the holidays, how to deal with this onslaught of shoppers. It's very, very exciting. Yeah,
and that's going to be like when you're in the thick of it. You're already in holiday time, and you need to manage those resources. It's the in the trenches part of Q4 search.
Tactical. All right, so here's where before the questions, we take 2 minutes to tell you about how Trada can do all of this for you, and it actually doesn't cost any more than if you were to do it yourself. So Trada works on the PPC side of things. We actually don't do SEO, although we do help, with, you two work with SEO companies, So Trada has this large global crowd of certified paid search experts. They live all around the world. They are certified, and they do PPC for you. So this is crowdsourcing, so you actually have more than one expert working on your campaign at the same time. Depending on your budget, it could be 3, 5, 20. And because there are multiple people working, they have the time to optimize. They get in there every single day and do stuff. They have this great diversity of thinking. So you alone cannot think of every single keyword. It might to find your product, but many, many people could. And you can advertise on Google, Yahoo, and Bing all at the same time. Best of all, they already know how to do all of this stuff. So it's pay for performance. There actually aren't any fees. No startup fees, no management fees. You can get started right away. Danny is managing demo requests. If you'd like a demo, just say, I'd like a demo, and Danny will take care of that for you. So let's get started on these questions. We're going to take as many as we can in the time provided. Please go ahead and keep entering them in. If we don't get to your question, please continue the conversation afterwards. Email Danny. He will get you to the right person. So let's kick this off right now with Marty wants to know, when is it too early to start testing ad copy and language? Jason, do you mind taking this one?
You said too early?
Yeah, when is it too early to start testing these things? I mean, can you use this information year after year, or is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, like we talked about holiday, using holiday terminology in your ads obviously is not going to probably be best till, after Thanksgiving. I mean, using, sort of use the metrics and the benchmarks of retail to kind of see when the real holiday season is. And if you've obviously been in business for many, many years, you can kind of feel and know those swings as well when it comes to, to PPC. I think for SEO, there is no time that's too early. I mean, you can start, you can start in the new year for the following year. I mean, the longer runway you're going to give yourself, just the more beneficial it's going to be in the end. So I think it's just about being smart and optimizing your time of, where your focus can be. So, the SEO parts can be done at any time of the year. PPC is probably a little bit more focused on those months leading up to September, October, November.
I think that makes a ton of sense. I would say if you're a business that maybe would benefit from the Labor Day holiday, which is right around the corner, you can test some holiday-ish themes. They're way different than Christmas, but test some pricing variations in your ad or free shipping promotions or things like that, even around a light, low impact Labor Day kind of sub-campaign or a few sub-ad groups just to test this type of language might give you some, food for thought for the real holiday push.
Sure.
Great, thanks guys. So Mike has an awesome question. The central mantra in SEO seems to be to generate great content. When you have an e-commerce site or a company website focused on products, what are ways to generate content? Writing articles, etc. seems a bit unnatural for this type of website. So, do you have any advice?
Yeah, well, first start out with product descriptions. Do not use the manufacturer provided. I mean, if you're a reseller of products, do not use the manufacturer provided description unless you are forced to by the manufacturer for some reason. I know in electronics they have to, maybe have a specific, description with some of the technical specs, etc. So there's a couple different ways to generate content. One is user reviews. I personally would recommend, your own user reviews from your own audience, not necessarily grabbing those from, other services. However, those can be good for conversions. They're not necessarily good for SEO. And going in, you can do also editorial comments. So let's say you're selling, sporting goods, and you happen to be an expert in sporting goods. You could go in and say, you know what, we've tried out these baseball bats, and they are great. We've found that they have very low return rates, et cetera, and you can kind of use content that way. But really the key is the product descriptions. I mean, product descriptions are absolutely essential, and that's generate your own descriptions and do not use that of the manufacturer. That's kind of the number one thing we can do. And then on categories, you can simply put category content below the products. So if you're offering and your category pages has, let's say, 8 to 10 to 12 products, below those you can put in some additional content for those who want to read it or for the search engines. And it's not very intrusive.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think one other thing I've seen that was effective is if you have multiple products in the same category, building your own little comparison chart and giving people a comparison page can be really interesting. People are taking this time in the holidays to cross-shop particular products. Putting them all in one page and show, a feature benefit analysis of one versus the other, it builds great content and may actually help steer people towards a purchase. Now they don't have to go to 3 sites to compare these different products. you've given them comparative data, right in front of them, it may actually shorten their path to conversion. So double whammy there.
And a site I think that does a really, really good job of not only SEO and generating content, but also generating a fan base with their content is ThinkGeek. Are you familiar with ThinkGeek? That's ThinkGeek. It's a website that just sells funny, geeky stuff. And not only do they have a funny blog, they have funny descriptions, they have great comment reviews, they make videos. They are a great content generation engine, and it's a really fun site to check out.
I've seen another site that they do, whether it's hunting supplies, I've seen it with motorcycles, that maybe they'll go out on a ride and they'll test product. And then what they'll do is they'll actually transcribe that video and the content to text, and then they'll post that on their website as well. So that's another way of generating. If you do have videos about your products or so, videos are great. You could also just transcribe those product videos and put that as descriptions so that the search engine can use that.
Yeah, and actually that's just, as a side note about video SEO, I'm the, video person here. A search engine doesn't know that it's a video, and it actually can't tell what's going on in the video. So first of all, you should always say this is a video in your description, and then I always just post the transcript right into the box. That's the best way to SEO optimize it with low effort. So I want to just clarify one thing here. Tony said, what is a footer as opposed to a title tag? We were talking about putting SKUs and UPCs directly into the footer. We're actually talking about the physical footer on the web page. It just was sort of an idea that I think Jason brought up. Is that right, Jason?
Well, footer. Well, yeah. Traditionally, footer might mean navigation, your copyright notice, and such, and your menu links in the footer. I think in general, I just meant towards the bottom of the page. Maybe is a better way of saying it. It's kind of not intrusive if the information is not as important to your audience, but it could be. You kind of have to.
It's still there.
Yeah, you have to pick and choose where your placement is. I mean, the image, the description, the bullets are kind of, and the price is the most, and the add to cart is the most important. So the SKU might not be as crucial to take up that real estate.
Great. So Fabio wants to know, is there something like SpyFu for European countries? And maybe you guys could take this opportunity just to talk about a few other like SEO research tools.
I might let Jason run with that. I don't know exactly what would be the analogous tool to SpyFu internationally. I mean, I know you can obviously get some information straight from Google, but I'd be interested to, hear if there were anything else. It's something that's a great question.
SpyFu does have a UK version. I mean, I'm looking on the website right now. They do have a UK version. So, hopefully that could help. Others might be finding, if you could research and find the data centers by IP of Google. We've done that with tests where we can see, even if you've known somebody in a different area and you can find out the IP of Google, you could actually go to the IP and search that way. There's a couple different, ways, or utilizing like the keyword tool on Google. You can use the global results, which is really the whole world, and you can kind of hone in on a little bit more of the region that you want to use. So the Google keyword tool is great. I mean, and that's a free tool to and there's other free word or other word tools out there of generating keyword research.
Yeah, we actually have several posts on the Trada blog, which is trada.com/blog, about keyword research tools. Another competitive research tool that I love is Raven, which is not a free tool, but it's sort of like an aggregator of all the other tools, and it can save you a lot of time doing keyword research, especially competitive research. It has a SERP tracker, which is a, search engine rank page rank. Results page where you can enter in keywords that you're targeting and see where you rank over time, which is a pretty cool and definitely a time saver. Really cool tool to give to whoever's generating the content for your website so that they can give themselves measurable goals. So let's move on. Emmett wants to know, my IT team is really busy and I need to prioritize. So what are the most impactful things for me to work with that have, that rely on your IT team? So I don't know, maybe if you could just choose the 3 things that you should ask your team to work on SEO-wise. Jason, is that fair enough?
Well, I said the IT team, I guess it depends, the IT team versus marketing. I mean, a lot of the SEO people that we'll work with are, directors of marketing and such. From an IT perspective, it might be page load. Just making sure that the website itself loads fast. I could say even structurally, making sure that it's sound. You don't want errors. You want to check links. I guess from an IT perspective, that's kind of because short of that, it's changing your title tags and adding really good content are like the first 2 things I would do. And that's really might be more of a marketing function. So, so there's a couple things there. I mean, checking links, checking for errors, using Google Webmaster Tools. Using Google Webmaster Tools, you can see sort of errors and load errors and page time. I mean, you can see a lot of information in there that you can utilize to sort of weed out some problems you might have.
Thanks, Jason. All right, we're running a little short on time, and we do want to be respectful of your time, but I'm going to take a couple more questions. Danny is asking a landing page optimization question. He says, what are the main things that should be above the fold on an e-commerce page? So
I think it's usually image, description, price, and actionable button to acquire said item. If we're talking in an e-commerce thing, people honestly having a visual identifier will quickly let people know they've arrived at the page that they were looking for. The description's important for both content and if the user's still in a bit of a research phase, you want to write that description in a favorable way. Maybe you even get one of your top 1 or 2 customer reviews above the fold. That provides like a little bit of validity if somebody's researching the product to see a user review. But then obviously the action button, if it's for somebody to buy it, you want to make sure that stays fairly prominent above the fold. I'm sure Jason probably has some other thoughts on that too.
I would actually argue a little bit and say that I wouldn't put the description there. I think the description is a little bit more of a distraction for me. My experience is the description is great for people who want it. Now, having said that, a description could specifically mean bullet points. For me, I like the idea that if you are going to put some description or some content right up above the fold, maybe have 3 or 4 very, very quick bullets of benefits or kind of like you would use in your messaging on PPC ads of why this product is so great. Save $5,000 a year in your energy bill. It's made out of a synthetic, blah, blah, whatever, strong. I mean, all these kinds of words and benefits of these products. Not features per se, but really benefits of how those products are going to help them. And then, of course, same as he said, image, price, call to action, how much they're going to save if you're discounting the product is really important. And make sure that button, that add to cart or buy now button, stands out. Do not use the same, that's one of the things, which hopefully the landing page webinar will really touch on some of those areas that, the add to cart button is huge. I've seen lift of, doubling, 100% increases and more of just changing the color of the add to cart and buy now button. It seems strange, but it's true. It does work.
Yeah. What about maybe like a star rating or testimonials, or is that sort of less important?
I think they're crucial. It just depends on how much space you have. I think big images are great. But it depends on your product. If you're selling furniture or you're selling something or clothing, which is visually is really important, you're going to want to have the image be a very big, crucial part of that above the fold area. So that's what or a video or something. So I think reviews are great, but they can be something that people are looking for. If you're doing like star reviews, that's okay. There's validity in them, but it's kind of up for grabs of if everybody is necessarily concentrated on it, because a lot of people I think also believe that there's many fake ones.
Yes.
So you kind of take that with a grain of salt. I think there's other elements that would be considered more important. The review companies would argue that, but.
Jason and Matt did a really good job of talking about landing page optimization, but we will have another webinar, which we mentioned as part of our series, that will be specifically focused on landing page optimization, and it is with special guests Unbound, and that's what they do. They make landing pages. So that will be a very visual, tactical webinar. So again, if you'd like to, yeah, we'll invite Jason. He'll be the one asking all the tough questions.
No, I'm looking forward to that. I want to attend that. I mean, it sounds like a great webinar. So.
Awesome. So I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to let you guys go. So this is a question that we get asked all the time, and I'm sure Jason does as well. George wants to know, I only have so much budget, so what should I do first, PPC or SEO? The chicken or the egg?
You guys can answer that one, I guess.
All right, Matt.
You know, I think as we've tried to make a theme of this whole presentation, it's important to split up that budget and allocate resources to both. In terms of a timeline, I think it makes sense to start with PPC because even on a small budget, you can get some quantifiable results that you can apply towards your SEO efforts. And then the one other asterisk I would put around that whole conversation is if you're talking about resources and you're starting to allocate them in October, November, then you really will probably weight your PPC efforts more heavily because it's impossible to, really have a good, impactful SEO effort in that short a timeline. So think about it in terms of the amount of time you have, and if you have to start one or the other, maybe start with some PPC and start to gather some data to be useful for your SEO.
Great. Thanks so much, Matt. Jason, do you have anything to add?
No, I think I agree with that. I mean, I think it determines you're determining it based on your goal. I mean, you have to kind of start with your goals. Is it short term? Is it long term? Here for this holiday season, it's exactly right. It's how much time do we have, and what's going to be the most bang for the buck? If you are talking about holiday, I may argue against it and say right now, if you're doing it, push the SEO for the next month or two. Because as the holiday season is going to come, you're going to be putting in a lot of budget towards PPC, and your SEO budget's going to back off. So I do agree that there's great valuable data from PPC that we can garner into using SEO. But if you have experience in your business, you've been doing it for a while, you do know your market, I guess this is a good way of a debate, is I might say do the SEO first based on that timeline, and then when you do come close to the holidays, you'll have your budget for SEO or for PPC.
Touche.
So pretty much, I guess 50-50. Everyone's gonna just spend it on both.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been really awesome. I really appreciate you two coming into the room or the virtual room and having this incredibly valuable to me discussion. I certainly learned a lot. Everyone, guests, we've really enjoyed having you. Thank you for all the awesome questions. Again, if you want to continue this conversation, if you think of another question later, we didn't get to yours, please email Danny at branda@trada.com and we will help you out. Jason Kreidman from Bestrank, thank you so much for being here.
Certainly. Thanks for having me.
And Matt, as always, it was a pleasure. Everyone, thanks so much. This is the end of the webinar.